citizens that participate in society. Countless firefighters and other first responders like myself have worked their entire lives in Maryland but can't afford to live or retire, and we're being priced out of existence right now as we speak. It is getting harder by the moment just to survive financially, with the price of groceries, gas, food, housing, everything. Everything is sometimes double or triple the price it was just 6 years ago. As a home builder himself, Governor Hogan has made record investments in affordable housing programs, dramatically increasing the state's commitment to providing middle-class and working-class housing. He spearheaded innovative uses of public and private partnerships to build more than 28,000 housing units throughout the state, with the vast majority of them being low to mid-income. I believe, and it's my opinion, that we need to have Hogan in the Senate working across the aisle to stop the regulations that are making housing unaffordable and incentivizing the development of middle-class housing across the country. Governor Hogan fought successfully and, like I said, reached across the aisle, delivering on retirement tax cuts for first responders. This directly affected me and my family and our ability to thrive and survive so that we could afford to stay in the home and the state that we love. In my opinion, Governor Hogan, you have consistently put people ahead of policies and politics, and I appreciate that. And I do believe, as the governor for 8 years, the most popular in the country, you're going to take that to D.C., and that's why I'm supporting you. That's my thought process.
Hello, everyone. My name is Roxanne. I am a single mom of 3 that works as a one-income household as a full-time nurse. At this point in my career, I make more money now than I ever have before, but I feel like I have less. I used to be able to afford the extras, the vacations, the summer outings with my kids, summer camps, without having to pick up overtime. Now I have to factor in an overtime shift just to do things that we enjoy. My rent has consistently gone up over the last 2 years to the point where now it's so high, I can't save much or quickly for a large down payment on a home. The interest rates have also increased on mortgages. It's completely boxed me out of being a buyer, and I'm at a point where I feel like I'll never actually own a home. I'll be renting. Energy and insurance costs have gone up for my household, especially my car insurance. 2 years ago, it was $80 a month. It's now $160 a month, and that's not to any fault of my own. I've had no claims, no accidents, tickets. I called thinking this must be a mistake. There's no way it's doubled. And she said, "Oh, honey, it's just inflation. This is happening to everyone." One of the largest impacts in my household, being a mom, feeding 3 kids, has been the cost of groceries. I have a toddler who can finish an $8 box of raspberries in about 5 minutes, and I have 2 teenage boys that look at the serving size on a grocery box, on a cereal box as 1, not 5. Cutting tolls and taxes may not seem like a big deal to some, but for families like mine, it's a very big deal and it makes a really big difference. These are things that Governor Hogan did during his time. I know the Senate, when he's in there, he's going to fight for not the Republican or Democratic Party, but he's going to fight for me and my family and the citizens of this country. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak on such important topics.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Dendry Aguilar. I am the owner of Centro de Habla Hispana, small business located in Hyattsville, Maryland, the place where everybody abandoned us during COVID, except Governor Hogan during that time. As a Prince George's County small business owner, I know that small businesses are getting squeezed across the entire country. Just in the last 3 years, the federal government added $1.5 million of costs that we did not need. It was $1.5 trillion to be exact. We don't need any more higher tax bills. We don't need to deal with more taxes that are coming in from the state. We need to incentivize small businesses in order for us to invest and to grow and hire people so that way they can take more money home. It's hard for me to talk to my employees and tell them that they're getting a raise, and every time they look at their check, it's actually going on taxes. There is no way that I can tell my employees, yes, you're getting an increase, but yet the taxes are still going up. We need a change. As a small business himself, Governor Hogan knows how to get our economy moving. As governor, he championed small businesses cutting taxes, regulations, and supporting us through COVID. After 8 years in office, under Governor Hogan, Maryland ranked number 3 in the entire nation for number of small businesses as a percentage of the total companies. That is a big increase. Our small businesses need more common sense leaders, as Governor Hogan in the Senate will make life more affordable for all of us. Please join me in welcoming our next United States Senator, Larry Hogan, to the podium.
Wow, well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very, very much, Dendry, Roxanne, and Jason. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for sharing your stories and your concerns. And I want to thank all of you for being here today to talk about an issue that I hear about every single day as I'm going all across the state, from one end of the state to the other. And this is an issue that's top of mind for Maryland families each and every day. The cost of living crisis, inflation, affordability, cost of housing. Back in 2014, I was just a small business man, just like some of the small business owners here today. I had never held elective office before, but I was completely fed up with politicians spending and taxing and killing our economy. And the entire reason I decided to run for governor in the first place was to fight for hardworking Maryland families, retirees, and mom and pop small businesses who were struggling just to get by. Maryland had raised taxes 43 times in a row. It cost us 8,000 businesses and 100,000 jobs. And then a Gallup poll came out that said 48% of all Marylanders, nearly half of all Marylanders, wanted to leave the state. They were calling us the California of the East, which they did not mean as a compliment. And I decided to step up to try to do something about it. And I said that I was going to fight to make Maryland more affordable and more competitive. And I was going to try to get the government off our backs and out of our pockets so we could help grow our small businesses, put people back to work, and turn our economy around. And no one gave us much of a chance. They said it was going to be impossible for us to get elected here in this state. But I won the biggest surprise upset in America. And then I did something that rarely ever happens in politics. We just did exactly what we said we were going to do. And our administration was committed to keeping the hard-earned money in the pockets of Maryland families, our retirees, and our small businesses. And we fought every single day to make life more affordable for hardworking Marylanders. We cut tolls. You see the bridge behind me? We cut tolls for the first time in 50 years at every single toll facility across the state. We eliminated 350 fees, and we cut taxes 8 years in a row by $4.7 billion, including, after 8 years of fighting, we passed the Retirement Tax Elimination Act of 2022. We didn't have a single tax increase for 8 years the entire time I was governor. And we turned a record $5.1 billion deficit, the worst in Maryland history, into a $5.5 billion record surplus, which is the largest in history. It was a complete 180-degree turnaround for Maryland and the biggest economic turnaround in America. We delivered a bipartisan, common-sense solution to reduce health insurance costs by health insurance premiums for everybody in Maryland by 30%. And we took steps for Marylanders to afford their first home and to lower the cost of a college education. Now, I just left office last January. The state was in the best fiscal shape it had ever been in history. And in spite of our advice to the current leaders of Maryland, they have returned to the policies that set us off track 10 years ago. The entire record surplus has already been blown in 1 year. $5.5 billion. And now just recently we've been downgraded by the rating agencies, and we're on track to lose our AAA bond rating for the state and for Prince George's County. On top of these incredible mistakes, the economic headwinds hardworking Marylanders face are even more challenging than they were a decade ago. Washington continues to run up the debt, causing inflation and doing nothing to make life more affordable. The American dream is slipping away for far too many because of high inflation, which makes it harder and harder for many Marylanders to afford basic necessities. All across the country, grocery prices have risen dramatically in the last 4 years. Home prices have surged to an astonishing 47% increase, and interest rates have doubled. The last thing that Marylanders need right now is tax hikes. But that is the reality we are once again facing. Next week, on July 1st, many of the new 338 tax and fee increases that have been passed in the last two sessions will take effect. They will affect almost everyone. No one will be left behind. They will be felt all across the state. Higher car registration fees, including for electric vehicles, and greater electricity fees. You know, they target small businesses like barbershops and salons and other service businesses. They hit manufacturers. They especially hit hardworking tradesmen, increasing fees on their licenses and apprenticeship programs. It goes on and on. All of these tax increases not only cost jobs and decrease wages, but they result in higher costs to consumers on almost everything. The leaders in Annapolis have turned the $5.5 billion surplus that we left them into a growing multi-billion-dollar deficit. And now the politicians in Annapolis are proposing billions of dollars in tax increases. Marylanders desperately need someone fighting for them and their pocketbooks. And there's a clear contrast between me and my opponent on these issues. Under the leadership of County Executive Also Brooks, Prince George's County has also created a skyrocketing deficit that is projected to grow to $387 million. And the county's fiscal outlook was also recently downgraded by the rating agencies, just like the state was. The county executive is also proposing raising taxes once again on her constituents. And she's campaigning on a promise to raise Social Security taxes, which would cost Marylanders billions more. Now, obviously, I have a completely different approach, and I'll reach across the aisle and work together to make life more affordable for Marylanders, just like I did for 8 years as your governor. I won't care which side of the aisle an idea comes from. We're going to let the best ideas rise to the top based on their merit. And I'm just going to ask a simple question, which is what I did as governor. Will it deliver economic relief for our hardworking Maryland families, retirees, and small businesses? Now, while my opponent will be a rubber stamp for her party bosses, Marylanders know me, and they know that I have the courage to stand up to the current president, the former president, to the party bosses in the Democratic Party or in the Republican Party. And I'll work with leaders on both sides of the aisle to fight for hardworking Marylanders. That is why today I am releasing a plan which will deliver much needed tax relief and which will make housing, education, health care, and even groceries more affordable for Marylanders. We will deliver tax relief for working families, seniors, and small businesses. We will accelerate housing construction and support middle-class housing. We will inject greater transparency and competition into the healthcare marketplace. We will advance tax credits, education sponsorship accounts, and greater flexibility for 529 accounts. And we will continue to stand against excessive taxes, spending, and overregulation at the county, state, and federal level, which drives higher prices and kills small businesses and jobs. Now, these are not Republican or Democratic ideas. They're just common sense ideas. And when we slash tolls here at the Bay Bridge right behind us and at every other toll facility in the state, many of the partisan politicians in Annapolis scoffed. And they said, what difference will a few dollars make? Well, what I knew was that for so many Marylanders who are struggling to get by, that relief and those hundreds of millions of dollars back in their pockets can make all the difference in the world. Now, Washington politicians on both sides of the aisle talk about inflation, but what have they actually done about it? Absolutely nothing. And I say enough is enough. Enough of the partisan nonsense, enough of the empty rhetoric. It's time for less talk and more action. And let's face it, one party alone can't fix this mess in Washington. This is not just about the differences between the right and the left. This is about the difference between right and wrong. And this isn't just your typical fight between Democrats and Republicans. It's more important than that. This is a fight for Maryland and America's future. And that is a fight worth fighting. And that's why I'm running for the United States Senate. Thank you very much.